I haven't seen the word whistleblower inside this book, and I wonder why.
I don't know why. You know, I think whistleblowing to a certain degree is hypocritical. You know, if you have something to say it outright. You can go on a radio program, you can talk to people individually or something. But whistleblowing sometimes is a fine line between reality and gossip. And I wrote a story about gossip in there because gossip is a sin. And I try to make that very, very clear. And I tell a story about gossipers and gossips and stuff like this. Again, if you talk about the Ten Commandments, one of them say, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." Well, when you gossip, what do you think you're doing? And so, whistleblowing is an individual thing. We need whistleblowers, we need people, but we have to do it with a lot of sensitivity. We don't want to offend people because if we don't have all the facts, shut up. You can't go blow whistle if you don't have all the facts. If you have all the facts, you have nothing to fear. You go out there and you make it known what your thoughts are and what your opinion is. And again, there's the word opinion again, but what you believe in. And people have to understand because a lot of people might feel the same way you do, but they're afraid to say something. If you're passionate, you have passion about something, go say it.
Yeah.
Pay the consequences, whatever it is. So
Let's go directly to the book now. So.
yeah.
Chapter 1, 15 chapters. Startup, people, customer. And hand it over to you.
Okay.
Let's go down that line or any which way you want to start.
Well, you tell me. I'll give you a chapter, and you tell me what it is. But the first chapter talk about to start something, and I define how you start something. If you start to build a house, you start a business, whatever. There's a process in starting, START, and I define how you start something.
I saw that.
And that's the first chapter. It gives you all the different words in there that goes into play, and you talk about the budgets and so that's start. The second chapter focus on people,
Right?
and that's a long chapter which really goes into people. There are 8 billion people in the world now, and the human race is interesting because in different culture, everybody feel that they're right because nobody will admit they're wrong. But we have to go deep down inside our soul and say, am I the hypocrite here? And sometimes, to give you a good example, we drive on the road all the time and we see bad drivers and people says, look at that idiot, driving down the road. So the story is this little girl was driving with her mom one day and the little girl said, "Mom, when you're driving, are you ever the idiot?" So we're all idiots sometimes, we have to be careful with those type of stuff. But people as a whole, I try to define, loyalty and a whole bunch. It goes down the line about people, what people, how they should behave, not only on Sunday morning in church, but either you're a good person or you're rotten, And if there's a rotten one in there, like potatoes, you'll rotten the whole sack pretty quick,
That's right.
So that's the one about people.
Let's skip the other and go to communication.
Yeah. Communication is an interesting thing. I mean, a lot of time I see people go yakety, yakety, yak talking. But our body language speak a lot louder than our words. So we can sit there, we can lie, we can tell story. But if you look at people when they're talking, if they're sitting slouchy and they're kind of, a little evasive and stuff like this, you question, is this person being honest with me? Their body language will tell a lot. The eye contact, the motion, the gesticulations, whatever. If you look for all those things, you recognize that this person is lying to me. You can see that. So you see the lips go yakety, yakety, flappity, flappity, flap, but you know darn well this person is lying. So the body language. Now, communication is good, and in this day and age with mass communication and everything, I'm surprised that we don't have better communication, if you want to call it that, I live in the United States. We probably have 500 channel on my TV. Years ago, we had an old black and white TV with 4 channel, and at midnight they will sing, the national anthem,
and close
and
off.
then there's no more program, Now there's 500 channels, and we still don't have any good programs to watch. I shouldn't say not. There's some good programs, but you know what I mean. You know that with all this communication we have today, we could focus a lot of time on better communication. You know, things that would help people, help the world, and tell. If there's something bad, we can go on there and have the guts to stand up and tell it like it is. Communication is a big subject, but effective communication is something we need to be. How do we communicate? The effectiveness of our communication, our body language, or you know, the whole process of communicating. And if we're communicating, if we're talking, and you're not paying attention, you're looking around and stuff, you're not listening, and that's a whole different part. The best communication is that if we'd shut up and listen, you know,
Listening.
listening,
Yeah.
and not only listen, but listen and hear what exactly that person is saying. When people communicate, what happens a lot of time, they're thinking what they're going to say next, and they miss the point. So we're always preoccupied. This person is saying that, I hear that, but I want to rebut. I want to rebut. I want to, you know. So I'm thinking what I'm going to say next, and we miss the point. So we have to learn to listen, pause a little bit, observe, make sure the person nods, whatever the case may be. That person actually listened, and that person heard what I said. And then you have to do a little check and goes, does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean? You know, just and once upon a time, when back in the 60s, I was a chemistry and science teacher in high school, and I would ask the students, you know, do you understand what this is? You're teaching chemistry. It was a difficult subject, you know, and I understand that. And everybody say, yes, sir. And I'll call some students and said, what did I say? And about 80%, they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Now, I take the responsibility. I did not communicate properly for the student to understand.
Right.
Okay, let me
Right.
start over. We'll go back and said, if you take this acid and this thing and you mix it together, or you take table salt, for example, you take some chlorine and sodium and you mix it together or whatever, you get table salt. And so then the student knows I'm going to ask that question. And they would pay attention. And if they don't get it, say, sir, excuse me, I don't understand that. If you allow the people, if you allow the audience to communicate with you and ask questions, but a lot of people wouldn't do that because they'll say, yeah, he might embarrass me because they think I'm a dunce or something.
Yeah.
And you know, that's this communication goes, there's so much in
Yeah,
communication.
but listening is so difficult
Yeah,
because the thought process runs faster than the words you can listen to or
Right.
even speak.
yeah.
So it's difficult, and you gotta teach yourself
Yeah.
to listen.
It's a thought process. Yeah, you have to teach yourself effective listening, effective communication.
Well,
The word is effective. Can you do it effectively?
yeah.
And nobody's perfect, you know. We all have our bad habits. I mean, I wrote this book. I found, and that's what the chapter 15 talked about. It was the road to reality, and I saw things that I would do when I read this
Reality
book.
hits you.
Yeah, you know, I do that, and I'm going to change that, and that's what we need. We need to look inward at ourselves and said, I have that bad habit, if you want to call it that. I need to change that,
Yeah.
and work relentlessly to change. Anyway, so that's kind of a long answer again.
This is not your first publication.
No.
Good. A common vision. A journey towards ethical business wisdom. And beyond. Your first book, Marble, Grass, and Glass. Let's peep into that book a little while because I'm going to ask you of your third book, which is in the process of writing.
Yeah, it'd be out
As
pretty
we-
quick.
Right. So as we close off this interview, let's peep at this,
Sure.
and let's move into the one that is coming up. It's all right.
Okay.
Tell us about Marble, Grass, and Glass.
Well, a lot of people ask me why that title, and I had to always explain it. Why did I pick that title and the cover? And when I write a book, I design everything myself, and you know, the cover, the writing, the editing, and then I finally go to an editor or a publisher, and this is how it works. Writing a book is not an easy thing. You know, somebody asked me once upon a time, how do you write a book? And I said, you start with one word, put a few words together, you have a sentence, put a few sentences, you got a paragraph, a few paragraphs, you got a chapter, a few chapters, have a book. But it's, you know how it is. You're right. It's a difficult to do and edit, and then the editor would have different ideas, and you either believe or don't believe. But go back to the Marble, Grass, and Glass book. That book took me a long time because it's about our ancestors from India, what happened to these people, and what the British did to them. And it was very, very shocking when I started finding out stories and stories and was growing up. And my grandmother, grandfather, and stuff, they would tell these stories. And I thought, I started looking for a book that would, document some of these things. And I find books, but they have, bits and pieces, but nobody wrote a book with this whole process. So I thought, well, I'm going to India. So I went to India, spent some time, hired a guy to drive me around, flew airplanes to different cities, whatever the case may be. And I found out some remarkable thing. And I came back and I said, I'm going to write this book because and what surprised me is that when I sent it to the publisher, they were just astonished. And I remember the lady said, "Sir, where did you learn to write like this?" And goes, "Well, from a scientific standpoint, I wrote a lot of articles, stuff, but I never wrote a book before." She was quite pleased with it. So the book is doing well.
Fine.
Yeah,
And there's a future book
yeah.
about the
Sustainability.
past,
Mhm.
the past, present, and the
And
future.
future.
Let's hear about that.
About the sustainability. Or
Yes, the new book.
the new book is it's still in the works. I'm still writing, but I know what I'm going to do. But it started out about global issues. That's about what it is, and how we sustain ourselves. And that'll take us 2 hours to talk about, and maybe 40 days and 40 nights to finish that. So, so we'll do another session on that book because it'll take too much. But it basically, you turn on any TV station from all the national, international network and stuff, and everybody define we have this problem: global warming. We have too much nitrates in the water. We got not enough nutritious food, and yeah, anybody can define the problem, but people are not giving answers. How do we fix them? Well, what I did, I've been in the science field and taught a lot of stuff in science over the years, is that there are answers. We can fix all these problems. We have to have the will, the political will, the financial will to go and do it. But, if you look at politics and people lobbying for this, and, I'm not picking politicians, but, maybe I should, because if we have the will, with all the money we spend on wars and destruction, if we take a few dollars, we can fix the global problem. We know how to fix them. There's answer out there. We just have to
Which
have the will
brings
to do it.
which brings us back to a common vision.
Sure.
Closing words on a common vision.
Sure.
I've just written down a short word which I use a lot: respect for each
Respect.
other.
Yeah.
Just focus 30 seconds on respect and a common vision.
In a common vision, I say it when we teach diversity, and we didn't talk about diversity, but Chapter 8 goes into very heavy diversity, and we always say it's a matter of respect. We have to respect people for who they are. Their racial barriers, political barriers, all sorts of barriers, and we tend to almost put people down and humiliate them sometimes for their belief, but we have to respect people. But the most important respect is self-respect. If we don't respect ourselves, so help you God. I mean, you're dead. So respect is a big word, and I spent some time talking about respect in this book, especially in the chapter in diversity. That was a difficult chapter for me to write. I don't know how we're doing on time. Are we got a little time?
No, we out of time.
Okay.
But we can catch up on that,
Yeah.
right, when we talk about the environment and sustainability, because respect plays a great part
Absolutely.
in our space,
Yeah.
my space, your space, global space.
Mhm.
Thank you for a common vision, marble, grass, and glass, and we look forward to the book on sustainability.
And thank you for this session. It's important to do these things, to share with the world what we believe. Any one of us can do this. I appreciate the time and the station to air this thing. I think it's important that we have to do this. I wish, not because I want to sell books, but I wish more people would buy these types of books and read them, because a lot of work went into them, and it teaches us how to behave. Because if we don't know where we're going, if we don't know where we've been, we don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
So we have to look at the past, the present, and the future. and we have to set the stage for our grandchildren and generations to come.
Yeah. Great last words.
Yeah.
Great last words. If you don't know where we come from, it's difficult to see that common vision of where we're going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.